We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.
Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are thrilled you guys are here. We have an awesome show for you today. We've got David Doel from the UK coming in. He is going to take some time to chat with us about his awesome performance at Maryland. But first, we're just going to check in with Horse Trailer Pros.
Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622
Or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. John is in the virtual Jump for Joy studio. I'm coming to you from Reddick in my little office. John, we have a great show with David Doel. Cool guy. I haven't spent a lot of time talking to him before. I have at some of the 5 stars just in passing. But what a cool story. And as people will be finding out, his family business is very cool.
Yeah, literally.
Good. It's a teaser. What do they call that? Clickbait.
That's right.
Come on in to the next section to listen to David Doel talk about his family business.
Yeah. So we're excited to have David on. He's going to.
Let's talk about. I was remiss. Tell everybody who David Doel is if they don't.
David Doel.
Doel. I did Doyle, didn't I? Doel.
It's all right. It's David Doel, and yeah. So David is a 5-star event rider from the United Kingdom. He just finished 3rd at the Maryland 5-star. He was over here, and I think was 8th at Kentucky. He's ridden around a bunch of 5-stars on multiple horses. And so we're going to talk to him all about Maryland and get his story, which will be great. So, Rick, what have you guys been up to? I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, you saw us. We came over and schooled the black gilding that Briggs has, Booming Boudron. And that horse is looking good. I would tell everybody out there, I think they haven't seen much of us, just a little bit, since Kentucky with Couture, aka Hottie. We made some reassessments after Kentucky, John, and I think a lot of people have to do this on a lot of things. I think we started looking at the physicalities of our horse, their shoeing, what we were doing in their programs. And I think we did a big reset after Kentucky. We noticed that Briggs's young thoroughbred Booming Boudron, Bodie, was starting to have some issues and confidence issues cross country. So we went all the way from advanced to back down to training and then modified. We came to you a little bit about that. And Hottie had a very small injury post Kentucky, which brought us all to the horseshoeing issue, John. And I know you can talk to that effect and people out there, how important your horse's foot health and the ability for your farrier to work with that horse's alignment and being able to have a good set of shoes and stay sound. And so we revamped it all. Briggs got very involved and he's such a cool guy. And you know that, everybody knows that, on him diving into exactly what his horses need. So that's a long answer to a short question. We've been doing all that and things are looking great. We're aiming for Terra Nova, which is coming up very quickly here for the pony and the 4 short, and the black thoroughbred. He's just 9 years old, going to be doing the 2 long. We're going to keep him steady moving up. We're excited though for Terra Nova. How about you?
Yeah, I'll be at Terra Nova as well. I've got a couple in the 2 long, and then I've got my Zelda Fernhill Esmeralda. She's going to be doing her second intermediate. She just moved up, and she's doing great. So most of the rest of the horses are on vacation. Kurt is just about back into full work because he had a little bone bruise earlier this year, which, God, those are a pain. Like,
Yes.
it really is not a big deal, but you just have to give them the time. So, but yeah, I mean, anyway, that's all good here. Just got back from Canada and got to visit some family up there. And I'll tell you one thing, it's cold. Canada's really cold. Like, it was warm for Canada, which is cold. But we had a great time. We were up on Lake Simcoe in Orillia visiting Jen's mom and had a good visit up there, which was fun. And yeah, so I'm excited to be back home and getting ready for what for us will be the last event of the season at Terra Nova. And I'm super excited because Alec Lahore is the designer there, right? And I thought he did a really good job at the last Terra Nova that I was at, which was his first go at designing. Kind of change just enough things to make it just maybe a little more bold and galloping and give it a little different look. And I'm excited to see what Alec does with a little more time now to put that event on the sort of put his signature on that event. It'll be cool to see. You must have muted, Rick.
Thanks for that, John. Appreciate it.
go.
The little red line says you can't hear me.
You're on now.
So yeah, we didn't get to go down to the inaugural event with him at Terra Nova, but we're excited to see what he has there now. Of course, we're excited. We're just doing the 4 short with Couture and the 2 long. We're excited as well. And I heard, this is what I've heard, that he has made the courses where he didn't have to kind of turn back a little bit so much on itself. So they have a lot of property out there. So I'll be interested to see how that works. Have you heard anything about that on the galloping tracks?
Kind of the same. And I know from some pictures I saw, we get to go through the main arena, which is always kind of fun and interesting. I'll be honest, I don't love when you go into the main arena because the footing changes so dramatically, but we've always kind of run through the corner of it by the water there. So it is what it is. And if it gives it a little different flavor and the rest of the course is good, that's great. But not always a big fan of running through the rings. I don't love that change of
Right.
ground, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, isn't that the only, I've kind of sparked I didn't talk later on when we were talking to David about, we did talk a little bit about Maryland and the footing, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I want to say is we all strive to have the best footing that you can possibly have. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that's everybody's efforts and some things just don't work out that way. And I can't remember the last time, maybe Burley this last time was the most perfect footing they have had. But in years past, it's been a lot of rain. I think we all got to understand that it's just not going to be perfect. I mean, there's just too many things that come into when you go to an event. I think it's been very, in my opinion on social media, very unfair of the Maryland 5-star. I think they did a great job. I think it was presented. I think there was a lot of components that went into Maryland that created not that many finishers, but at the same time, it was a well thought out, really good Ian Stark course, and I think David hits on it a little bit when we interview him, and we talked about it before. I think preparation for different type of venues causes you to change maybe some of your methods of conditioning and training. And I think we all need to be cognizant that we have to do that. And sometimes you're just not prepared. And when you're not prepared, it's not your day. And when it's not your day, then you have to either hold up your hand or not even start. So, I think what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think sort of back to just the footing side of it, you're right. I think as long as you know the event has done everything they could do within sort of reasonable expectations, it does, even at your long events, which are so important, it does still fall on you to decide if you're going to run the horse or you're not going to run the horse. And, like I know when you think about a 5-star, you don't always have the next 5-star you can just go to 2 weeks later, but there are other events. And I think once once you leave the start, it's on you as the rider. It's your choice to be out there. And if you think the ground is good enough, then go have a go. And if you don't, then you got to either not go or ride responsibly. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm not bagging on anybody for running us through the arena. I just
No,
think
no, no.
it's just one of
No,
those
I
things
get
that's
that.
sort of a general statement. I don't love doing that because it's
I get
it's
it.
the change in ground that sometimes I feel like is tough on them. But um,
I
I'm
get
sure it's
that.
going to be an awesome event down at Terra Nova. And I know they've got this tropical storm blowing through, which should
Thank
get,
God it's petering out in the middle of the Gulf, so that's good.
yeah, but hopefully it brought some rain bands through there. And that event, it's low, so it can get a little saturated. But even when it does, it's quite firm ground. So I think it can take the water
Yeah,
as long as there's not
and
so much at
and
standing.
I agree. And I'm just going to make one more. I know you look like you're trying to wrap this up, but
I'm not. I'm not.
okay. I just want to come back again to our responsibility as riders and enthusiasts and supporters of eventing. How important our ability is to not be keyboard warriors and have judgmental postings and ridicule. I think we all need to take a step back, sort of like our political environment here in the United States, is that we all need to really understand that we all just want the best for what we're doing. And John, I was looking at Essex 1993 for
That's a
the
long time ago.
yeah, we were watching because Briggs has now gotten his library upstairs situated in which he has a VCR.
A
So we're
VCR.
a VCR. So
Oh,
we're
I need to come borrow that. I've got a bunch of VCR tapes that I need to
bring
use.
it over. I mean, our library upstairs is so cool now. You got to come see it. But anyway,
Right.
Essex, 1990, maybe it was 91, whatever. We have come such a long way in just our knowledge of everything. And I'm not putting down us from the 90s or 80s and 90s. We were good horse people. But when you watch that sport then compared to now, we have made so many amazing adjustments, even with the change of type of horses that we're using and all of that. We have come a long way. And I want everybody to understand this. If you haven't reviewed history coming up forward and understand that our sport is doing everything that it can to really be beneficial for everybody and still be competitive and have an edge in which cross country is supposed to have. You really need to go back and look because we used to be able to get on after two falls, or you could get on after your first fall. Your second fall, you couldn't get back on. We were throwing people back on when they had really bad falls. And so, and the horses and getting tired. And I was like watching that, and I just I'm spewing, but I get really tired of watching all these people just judge on things that they don't have all the information on. I said, just take a back seat a little bit and think about what you're going to post and make sure that we all come together and beneficial. We want to keep our sport. We want to keep our horses happy. So let's all come together there.
Yeah, no, I think it's well said. And, I think it's funny because I have some friends who think of me and they're like, oh yeah, John flies off the handle and loses his cool at the events and gets upset. And then I have other friends who say, like you, oh, you're too much of a politician and you need to, stand up more for what you think. And I think to your point, what I try to do, and I'm not always successful, especially sometimes in the moment at a competition, but what I try to do and what I think, if we're gonna make a social narrative here, this is the one I'm gonna make.
Let's do it.
I think we should be able to use social media to talk about the things that we feel strongly about, even if we're being critical. But I think how we do that needs to be fair. Just because you don't agree with somebody else doesn't mean that they're a terrible person. And I'm talking horses here. I'm not getting into politics. So please
Right,
don't go
right.
politics.
I get it.
But if you think something strongly enough that you want to make a post about it or talk about it on social media, I'm all for that. I think that's what that's for, and we should be able to do it. I try to keep mine pretty positive and upbeat most of the time. But I think you should be able to have those conversations. But somewhere along the way in the horse world, specifically, we have lost the ability to debate things without getting angry and upset. And we've got to figure that piece out. We should be able to have conversations back and forth about important issues and disagree on things, and not just like after the fact, but during the conversation, be able to be respectful and kind to each other at the same time. And that's what I think is missing, and it's a real shame.
That's well said. I think it's across the board in any kind of topic that you're talking about. But I think and to your point, and well said, what you just said is if you do have an opinion, which is fine, make sure that you're educated on whatever that opinion is going to be. I mean, we might think we're educated when we make an opinion, but let's make sure that we drill down and kind of understand the topic that we're going to talk about, and then I'll be happy to have a healthy debate about it.
Yeah, unless it's American football, in which case the Green Bay Packers are the greatest team that's ever been, and the Bears and Vikings and Lions suck, and that's all there is to it.
I can't go against you on that. You're my friend, and I give you a hard time on every other topic. I will let you win on that one.
Maybe you don't want to on the Lions. Your father-in-law may not agree.
Well, yeah, Andy can stick up for himself though.
Okay,
He's pretty good at
Lions, Bears, Vikings, you all suck. Go Pack, go. All right. Listen, Rick, let's take our break and come back here with David Doel. We're very excited to hear everything he has to say. You guys are going to love the interview.
Yep, excited about Terra Nova, John. We'll see you soon.
All right, so we're going to be right back in the Jump for Joy studio. Huge thank you to Jump for Joy, such a great sponsor. Huge thank you to Horse Trailer Pros. If you guys need anything done with your horse trailers, go check out Horse Trailer Pros here in Ocala, Florida. They will take care of you and get you on the road safe and sound. We'll be right back.
EquiBrew, now available in the USA. It's a live probiotic that you feed daily to your horses. The live microbes go into your horse's gut and cleans up the gut wall, creating a healthy gut system.
EquiBrew is an essential part of my feeding program. My horses love to eat it, and it does a really good job of promoting gut health and also good behavior and great performances.
It's something I recommend for all of your horses, no matter what they do in their careers.
It's so affordable, I can use it on all of my horses in the barn, not just my top horses.
Order EquiBrew today by going to brickfieldnutrition.com or calling 850-879-2649.
Jump for Joy fences are easy to move, lightweight, durable, and low maintenance. So we're out here on the cross country. We just finished over in the show jumping over the Jump for Joy fences. Had a great time schooling over them. They're really nice and easy to move, so we were able to adjust some things and really have the exact school that we needed thanks to the Jump for Joy fences. I love them. Order yours at jumpforjoyusa.com.
Grant Showalter has over 15 years of equine bodywork and saddle fitting experience. His technique allows him to identify and alleviate tightness in muscles. He uses trigger point massage to release points of restriction. Grant has over a decade of experience fitting and adjusting a wide variety of saddles. His expertise in equine physiology, coupled with a thorough understanding of the importance of a properly fitted saddle, allows him to quickly identify and correct any balance issues. Grant can also adjust your saddle on site. Grant works on all of my competition horses, and I have noticed a significant improvement in their performance at competitions and their overall way of going. Grant's based in Ocala, Florida year-round, but regularly travels to the surrounding areas. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call 484-639-4454.
Hi, my name's Leslie Law, and we are a proud supporter of Jump for Joy. We've been using their portable cross-country jumps now for about 10 to 15 years. We love these jumps because, as you can see, they're very easy to move. It would only take another person on the other side, and I could place this fence wherever I wanted to very easily.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are thrilled to be joined by David Doel from his home in, where are you, David?
Lake Off, so Chippenham, the southwest of England.
All right, perfect. I know the area well, been through there, and we appreciate you being on here for our EquiBrew segment. EquiBrew is a great live probiotic. I feed it to all of my horses. It helps them with their gut health, makes them a little bit happier. I've actually noticed makes them a little better through their back if they're a little bit funny about what they eat. Sometimes they get a little tight. And so It's a great probiotic, and Rick, obviously, you are the man in charge of it here in the
Yep.
United States. So give us a little rundown of Equibrew.
Sure. Equibrew came in from New Zealand, and it really has changed the lives of a lot of horses. David, we even have Equibrew coming into England, so we might have to get you a couple bottles to try. But it's a live probiotic. It goes in and just helps the microbes of the gut to really get together with the good microbes, and it creates a healthy gut and really creates a really healthy, happy horse. So it's a great thing to have. www.bricknutrition.com, and you can order your Equibrew today.
Yeah, no, sounds
Perfect.
sounds a good idea. Happy gut is a happy horse.
Exactly.
That's right. So David, this not too many weeks ago, you were over here from Maryland and had a great result there. It was not your first trip over, because you also came over and had an awesome run at Kentucky. So you've had a couple trips to the US and did pretty darn well both times.
Yeah, certainly can't complain. It's been so far, America's been a happy hunting ground for Galileo, Neumode, and myself. And yeah, I mean, the trip to Kentucky last year was fantastic, and the trip a couple of weeks ago to Maryland was equally as cool.
So we want to get into the whole trip, but why don't you tell us a little bit about Galileo, right? And how do you say his last name?
His last name.
I always sort of guess. I think it's sort of it's Neumode.
Say it again. It broke up there.
Neumode.
Neumode. Okay. Look, I'm going to call him Galileo if that's all right.
Much easier.
So tell us a little bit about the horse, where you got him, and kind of what your journey's been like to get him over here for these 5 stars.
Yeah, so he sort of came to me in a bit of a roundabout way. I actually tried to buy another horse from his previous owner, a lady called Joy Dawes. Joy had a couple of horses at 5 star at the time, and she was just starting to sort of quieten down, and she had these two sort of younger horses, and I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't really overly rate him to start with. I really liked her other horse that she had. That was at the time he was a bit sharper, and it's probably I thought would suit me slightly more. And that didn't really, that didn't really work out because of sort of vet wise and vet problems. But Joy at the time was sort of struggling to get Galileo sort of out and about and doing things. So she gave me a ring whilst we had this other horse of hers as well, and said, would I be interested in taking him on sort of as a bit of a sales livery? And just sort of from there, he just went on and did really well. I think I ran him around a couple of novices, and he qualified for the Gatcombe Novice Championships, and he did really well there. And then at the time, I was very fortunate. I had Gillian Jonas, who now owns him. She was looking for a novice horse, and I have to say, he probably wasn't sort of the nicest to ride. He was a real sort of results machine. I know it sounds really bad, but he's not the most athletic on the flat. He doesn't enjoy the dressage all that much, but he's always enjoyed his jumping. He was actually, ironically, really quite stuffy cross country, and I used to have to kick a lot. And but yeah, he was getting the results, and Gillian Jonas is a lady, she likes her results, so sort of it was quite a good match at the time. And just from there, he just sort of it blossomed really, and he's been a phenomenal horse, and I've been very lucky to have him sort of in my career so far, and to achieve what he's already achieved. I don't know quite how many he's jumped around, sort of 7 or 8 5 stars now. And yeah, what's he been? He's been in the top 10 in 6 of them or something. And yeah, it wasn't really it took a long time to really sort of him find his mojo across country. He was always absolutely fine, but it actually was getting him to improve in his dressage and getting him a little bit more off my leg in his dressage that he really, I think, actually started to find his gallop. And once we really got him sort of in front of the leg in the dressage, yeah, he then just became a real different horse cross country. But yeah, he's just an absolute sort of galloping machine, and he loves it.
Yeah, and David, it's good to hear, there's obviously in our sport, he sounds like a very cool horse and you've been doing really, really well with him. In our sport, there's been some debate. I just kind of pricked my ears about dressage training versus the horses going out cross country. And I agree with you. It seems like I'm going to agree with you that your dressage work kind of helped him find his way for his gallop on cross country. So that's a good, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Sort of the real, sort of that, yeah, for him, once he actually went in front, finally actually learned to go in front of my leg and, go off my leg, he seemed to find another gear. And actually, I think that helped to make, his cross country rounds are really smooth. And I don't really ever have to, I don't ever really have to sort of gallop really fast in between fences or anything like that, because I don't really ever have to take much of a pull with him because he's so balanced. But I think a lot of that, is down to the flat work and what we've done over the years with him. And he's 13 now, and he was a very different horse. When he went and did his first 4-star as an 8-year-old, he was a very different horse then to what he is now. And so sort of I think a lot of that, as I say, is down to making sure he was off my leg on the flat and just responsive. We spend a lot of time doing just sort of lots of sort of ons and backs with him and just keeping him sort of interested in life. And he's a bit like a big child, really. And so you have to sort of keep playing with him and you have to keep him entertained. And we call him Nobby at home because he is a bit of a knob. Um, and yeah, he's yeah, as I say, it's like dealing with a big child all the time, and you do have to try and keep his mind on the job, and sometimes it does sort of wane and it goes off somewhere else. But cross country wise, yeah, he's really sort of come into his own.
Well, and I'll do a follow up to that. So, I mean, obviously, you've done your work with him and conditioning as well. I believe I have heard your conditioning involves sprints and interval training. So, with that fact, you didn't have to tug too much at Maryland. You were the only one to make time. And I watched your round. It was pretty impressive. So tell us about how you got him condition wise in that getting to Maryland, because a lot of people were very, I don't know why they were surprised, but I thought you looked marvelous and went around and just were super. How did you get him to be like that for Maryland?
I would probably go back. What are we now? Probably 3 years when I took him to Bicton when Bicton ran like a special 5-star, and I got 3/4 of the way around Bicton, and he ran out of puff, and I got to about 8.5, 9 minutes, and he just completely dried up on me. And I think I was listening to you guys your last podcast, and or one of your last podcasts, and where you were chatting about I came out the start box trying to get inside the time and clear, and on a horse that was doing his first 5-star, and I made the mistake of just, as I say, going out too fast and possibly not having a fit enough horse or not understanding what sort of horse I needed for Bicton. And I think I had done the wrong type of training for Bicton, and so that made us have a bit of a review of most of our horses' fitness plans, to be fair. And I had a lot of help from my trainer, Nick Turner, in doing so. And, sort of say for Bicton, I just did far too much sort of hill training, so sort of sprints up the hill, which, is great for your short, sharp stuff, but actually trying to get that long term, the 9-10 minutes worth of galloping that you need for a 5-star in the short, sharp sprints just don't do it. And to get the horse's heart rate up high enough for long enough and keep it there, those short sharp sprints don't do that. And so we now actually sort of do a little bit of a mixture of the interval stuff and the hill stuff, like you say. And I think one of the best questions that Nick Turner asked me was, how often when I actually galloped Galileo did he actually feel genuinely tired. And when I actually thought back to sort of my preparation work before Bicton, he probably realistically hadn't felt that tired. And I think that was something that sometimes you have to push them that little bit just to push on the fitness that little bit more. Especially he's only sort of 45% thoroughbred, something like that. And so we've sort of had to teach him a little bit to dig in and stick with it at the galloping a little bit. And yeah, and that sort of mixture of, say, of the intervals, and we really do build it up. So the 2-star horses do the intervals, but they're only sort of doing 3 lots of 5-minute canters on the interval training, having warmed up or whatever else. Whereas Galileo, he's doing sort of 3 lots of 10 minutes with probably a minute and a half breaks in between. So that's really like half an hour of decent sort of 520 meters a minute, cantering is pretty decent, and it is tough on the legs as well. And that's something that has to be taken into account. And it's something that I think I'll have to sort of keep a little bit of an eye on, especially as he gets a bit older, whether I'll be able to keep on doing that, and whether I might have to introduce a few other things to obviously keep him sound. We might have to play with a little bit more, but yeah, so no, so it's definitely, as I say, it was something that Nick Turner really helped me with. And I think we'd had quite a few horses at 5-star level, and I think as you guys sort of chatted about, they probably weren't top horses, and I did a couple of them, I cantered round for 30 time faults on a few of them, and a few of them I went to the likes of Lamoulan and Poe. They're nice and flat, and so they don't quite need that same sort of endurance. Whereas suddenly when you get to your likes of your Badminton, your Burley, and as I think as Maryland sort of showed, you really do need that little bit extra, in the tank there.
I think that's super interesting to hear, because you're right. Everybody seems to be going more to the short sprints and hill work. And here in Florida, we don't have the hills, so we probably do a little more interval work than other parts of the world. That's a lot of galloping. 10-minute canter sets. That's a lot of cantering, and that's actually kind of old school. And obviously, it worked because your horse looked incredible out on the Maryland cross country. So I'm a little curious. You came over for Kentucky. Obviously, I'm sure you talked to everybody who'd been here from Maryland in the past. When you got out and walked around that cross country course, were you thinking like, all right, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have a go at the time and I'm going to get this? Like, what was kind of your strategy going into cross country day?
Yeah, so the strategy, I was really fortunate. Nick Turner actually came out to Maryland with me as well. And I, most of my 5 stars, I still do walk the courses with Nick. And he's a great influence on my riding. But yeah, the strategy was just to go do what we normally do. And for the last few competitions, I don't know, his last, I don't know how many, sort of 4 or 5 stars. We just go out and I have my canter and I just sit in that canter all the way round, and I don't really do anything, or I don't need to really do anything. Obviously when I'm riding, you do have to react to the sorts of things, and Maryland threw up a few more things at me that normally the courses don't, and it actually did make me work. And this is one of the first ones that really did seriously actually make me work on top there. But I feel really guilty about saying this, but I slowed down for the second half of the course. I was
Don't feel
already
guilty. That's awesome.
I got to my my 7-minute marker, and he was already 15 seconds up. And so sort of from there, I really just felt like he just cruised all the way home. And that's a hell of a hill to sort of cruise up, and it wasn't the nicest, it wasn't the nicest of feelings, almost just trying to sort of sit there and go, okay, buddy, we might almost just have to take a little bit off the speed here just to make sure we have enough in the tank for those last few combinations as well. And yeah, then that's the joy of having a horse like him, is that I don't really need to, you don't really need to set up. You don't really need to take too much time. You don't end up wasting too much time because of that. And, setting up with him, it's a little bit of a half halt, it's a little bit of a play with the rein and make sure he's in the right balance and in the right sized canter. And, you jump the fence and you're off and away again. So it's a very small, sort of thing that I have to do, and it doesn't really waste any time. And I think, that's, we're really lucky where sort of the balance from it comes. But yeah, we came to Maryland knowing that it was going to be a little bit of a Burley-esque course. And he ran around Burley really well last year. So the preparation for Maryland was the same as what he did for Burley last year. And yeah, he felt great. And and he finished great, and he trotted up really well on Sunday morning. So it's always nice to know that when you have that sort of preparation, it goes well, and it pays off. And yeah, and I think that's the other thing. He gallops 20 seconds under time, but on the Sunday he still came out sort of fresh as a daisy. And we obviously gutted to sort of have a pole down on the last day, but he actually jumped a super round, and he quite often on the last day is more settled, having been cross country, than he sometimes is just at the normal sort of one day and at the short format stuff. So yeah, in answer to it, sorry, I sort of digressed a little bit, but
Oh,
yeah,
it was good.
I didn't really have anything. We just went out with the normal
Well,
plan to just go have a canter round as such.
so a follow up from John. So yes, and I think you're the only one that was successful in the ditch to ditch on the offset brush. You went around and did the direct route. Is that correct?
Yep, it was a bit tight. Yeah,
It was a bit tight, but you were the
it was a
only
bit
one that
tight.
successfully made it through there. And it was pretty impressive because once you went through, people thought, oh, it's doable. And it was a tough combination. I was very impressed with that. And that probably with your, and this is me just putting in my 2 cents worth, when you came back off a little bit on the second half, that direct route helped you out in keeping you right there where you were still like 20 seconds under. So it was a brilliant ride, David. I was like really impressive to watch. So thanks for doing that for all of us, because I'm like inspiring to have every horse that we have look like yours.
Yeah, and I would say this, David, it was so when you finished cross country, I remember thinking like, okay, like it's doable. You can get the time, and if you go out and ride efficiently and smart and aren't running the legs off your horse, but just let them go, this is doable. And a little bit like, thank God, it's doable. And then it wasn't that doable after you either. So like, you must have felt really confident when you finish, like, man, all right, this is great. But then as the day goes on and you start seeing like, okay, most of the people before me didn't get this done. Most of the people after me didn't get this done. You were the only one, I believe, who made the time. Like you must have just been on cloud nine that night and just so proud of your horse. But also, I would think a little bit on like feeling like a little bit like this is unreal that this happened, and you got it. Such like you knew you were going to be great, but such a great performance out of that horse.
Yeah, he is very cool, and he is exceptional. And if I ever have another horse like him, I'll be lucky. But I've been very lucky to have him in my career so far. And yeah, I think I am always very proud of him, because he's just, I don't think he really quite knows what he does, but I think he just sort of he finds it so easy, and he just sort of canters around. And I sort of always feel a little bit bad also. I just sort of say, I could sort of call it with him. I go for a canter around cross country, and that's what it sort of feels like, because I never really feel like I have to really put my foot down to really gallop him. A lot of the time, most competitions, it just feels like we are just going for, he and I are just going for a nice canter round, and he gets to do what he really loves to do now. And he makes it feel so easy. And yeah, and he just sort of he finishes, and he just sort of wanders back and back to the stable, and he's just sort of, yeah, he's just there, and he's still sort of doing his normal sort of knobby stuff and trying to bite your shins, and and just try and sort of barge out his stable door to try and go out and walk, go for some grass. And yeah, he's pretty cool how he just comes back and he's just back to how he normally is. And yeah,
Well, that's because, like you said, he's just a horse that you brought in to sell. He's just a horse you brought in to sell, didn't think was going to be the top horse. And I'm saying that in jest. I love those stories. Like, we get a few of you guys in, and it's a similar story of like, yeah, I got this one in and I wasn't sure that he was going to be all that. And then all of a sudden he's all that, isn't he?
Absolutely. And they're probably the ones that we do end up doing well on, because they're the ones that we don't really put that much pressure on. And so, they just sort of, they tick along, and that's exactly what he did. He won at his sort of novice 2-star level, and then he just stepped up to 3-star, and he just jumped around his 3-stars. And then I thought, oh, well, I may as well go and jump around 4-star because he's qualified, and making the 3-stars feel so easy. And it just sort of, for him, it just kept on sort of rolling on. And, it never really felt like, especially sort of from the jumping side of it, the show jumping and the cross country, that he's really ever sort of struggled at whatever height we've entered him into.
Well, he certainly didn't struggle at Maryland. I think what we should do now is let's take a brief break. We need to just check in with our sponsors here, and then we're going to come right back. If you're willing to stick around, David, we'll come right back and pick up where we left off.
Absolutely.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Hey, it's John here. I just want to let you guys know I got back from schooling at Magnolia Sands Farm here in Ocala, Florida. Their cross-country field is perfectly suited for a first outing on a young horse or schooling your upper-level horse. Magnolia Sands offers over 110 jumps ranging from starter to intermediate, plus multiple banks, ditches, and waters. They're constantly updating their courses and have even added new ditches and a starter ditch wall. Conveniently located in Northeast Ocala, Magnolia Sands has made it easy for riders and trainers with online waivers, Venmo, and PayPal, and even offer a golf cart for guests. MagnoliaSandsFarm.com. Reset, reboot, rebuild, restore. Experience the transformative power of our formulas you can trust. Elevate your horse's well-being from the inside out with Parkmore supplements. European designed, American manufactured, and Kentucky Proud certified. Parkmore's Devil's Own Detox, Nature's Own Binding Agent, cleansing your horse's system. Now available for your canine kids too. Say goodbye to unwanted elements and hello to vitality. Parkmore Special Vitamin Mineral Supplement, a micronutrient powerhouse. No fillers, just 4 ounces a day for a 5-star eventer to thrive. Because excellence deserves exceptional nutrition. Parkmore GLF Immuno Booster. Unleash the magic gold, the #1 building block for cell replication. Elevate wellness and recovery for your horses and dogs, whether after training, travel, competition, or during periods of injury, illness, or surgery. Parkmore HI Oil Infusion. Customize your blends of herbs and spices to naturally combat inflammation, bacteria, and restore gut flora. Elevate your horses and dogs' appetite naturally. Expert guidance awaits. For more information, schedule an online, telephone, or on-site consultation with Fleur or one of our dedicated team members. Visit parkmoresupplements.com or call, text at 502-265-8345 to elevate your companion's well-being today. Since 1950, Maison Forestier has been offering its know-how to design custom-made saddles for passionate riders. In 2016, Maison Forestier took a turn and expanded into the sports world with the goal of improving the performance of the rider-horse pair. You will find a professional, reactive, and fun team to answer your needs. And this is why I have chosen Forestier for all of my saddlery needs. Feel free to contact the saddle expert in your area for more information by visiting www.forestier.com.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are in the Jump for Joy virtual studios. John is there. I'm at my farm in Reddick. So we're joined with David Doel and telling us his exciting news about Maryland and his horse that Galileo. David, what I want to ask you is, after this was Ian Stark's Swan Song course, and in walking it, I thought and felt it was a brilliant course. Of course, I didn't have to get out there and ride it. And then we were having some debates. There was not a lot of rain in Maryland, and they did a lot of work with water and aerating. Tell us your thoughts on, number one, the great Ian Stark's course, and number two, how you felt the footing attributed any or went against you in riding at Maryland.
So to me, you always know you have to have a scopy horse when you choose to go to an Ian Stark course. The likes of your Chatsworths over here and your Bramhams, you don't go to those with one you're not sure whether it's got enough scope or anything like that. You always know that the fences are going to be big. He's going to use the terrain really well, and he's going to challenge you. And so and he creates, I think, real sort of cross country courses still, and real sort of differences, and like your sunken roads and your brush fences over the ditches, and how often do you even get sort of 2 or 3 bounces in a cross country course as well? He produces absolute variety. And yes, I understand the places he's built, he's probably had fairly decent budgets to be able to build them as well. But I think you have to have a bit of an athlete to be able to jump around an Ian Stark course, and otherwise I think that really sort of shows up shows up the horses and shows up the riders sometimes. I always think he builds very fair courses, but it is fair to the horses that have got the ability to do it. And normally the ones that come unstuck are the ones that either don't quite have the scope, or the riders haven't sort of taken the courses seriously enough, and walked their lines well enough. And I think that's where Ian then does, probably you end up being punished for it. And so many courses nowadays are sort of roll tops in the middle of a field, or portables in the middle of a field, and so we're so used to there being lots of either runouts, or just used to there being lots of runouts nowadays, and big bold fences don't always produce that. And so you do get you do get a few more tumbles and things like that. But I think that is the part of the sport that still provides a lot of entertainment. And and he's obviously very sensible with the fact that there are mim clips everywhere, and there's the safety fences wherever possible. And so nothing is built to be unsafe. But it's built there to be challenging. So yeah, so that was my bit on Ian Stark. I can't remember, what was the second question? I've got a brain like a sieve.
It was about the footing.
The footing, yeah, look, it was really dry. As you guys say, there hadn't been any rain for 6 weeks beforehand. And I thought the guys there did a fantastic job of improving the footing as much as they could. There was a real definite green strip down down the middle of a lot of brown grassy fields. So where they had watered and chucked the however many hundreds of thousands of liters of water on that they did, it definitely made a difference. Nothing can ever beat rain. As much as water as you can put on, you just can't beat it. It raining. And yeah, they aerated, and I think for a lot of the course, the aerating did a great job. I thought there were just a few places that it then made it almost a little bit spongy to ride, and I especially noticed that sort of early on, probably sort of around sort of fence 4, which was a big brush table. And I definitely felt sort of Galileo, he sort of almost he went to push off the floor, and I think whether it just had gone in too far and made it a little bit spongy. But yeah, I mean, God, if that's about the only place I really felt it, to be able to do to aerate around a 6,000 meter long course for the 5 star and do the 3 star as well. I think those guys did an incredible job.
Yeah. John, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna transition a little bit here because I was reading up on some stuff on you, David, and so bear with me here because I was just up in Canada and I was visiting my mother-in-law, and I drove down to the grocery store and I picked up a couple Cadbury chocolate bars, and they were delicious, as they always are. And I didn't realize that I actually needed to thank you and I guess your father, because I was reading that, I don't know if he still does it now, but your dad is a dairy farmer, is that right? And has 350 cattle?
Yeah, so we've got about 300 milking cows, which my cousin sort of runs most of the sort of the dairy side of it now, actually. And he does a great job with his wife. And yeah, my dad and my uncle sort of we've tried to sort of pension them off, but so my dad and I instead actually have an ice cream business as well. So
Yeah, I
that's
saw you. So you still do that? You still go around selling ice cream?
yeah. So yeah, my
Awesome.
job is I do more of the computer side than anything else, but yeah, a lot of the invoicing and a lot of the sort of the stock control and bits and pieces like that. And my dad's a little bit of a techno dinosaur, so he doesn't really do sort of mobile phones or emails. So I think I end up being a little bit his PA as well.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I know it's not the case, but I just have this vision of you like landing from the plane on the way back from Maryland. You're like the eventing superstar, and then you put on your ice cream suit and you go out and walk around town and sell your ice cream to people.
Yeah, it's not well, not far off that. We
All
do have
right.
some we do have some really attractive hair nets for when the ice cream's made. So yeah,
That's
there's not a lot of
awesome.
hair. There's not a lot of hair left up there, but still have to wear one.
So when I
Oh,
come over next time, looking for horses in England, I'm going to call you up, and I want to come and see horses because I have a feeling if Galileo came in as one of the sale horses, you probably have some good stuff to sell. But I'm going to want some ice cream too.
Yeah, no, we definitely have some good sale horses, but we definitely have some very good ice cream as well. So yeah, no, my dad, he's great. He does a lot of the manual side of the ice cream, along with a lady called Denise that makes it for us alongside dad. And yeah, and as I say, I end up having to just sort of fit the more of the computer side of it around
That's
around the horses.
that's cool. I
I
appreciate
can,
you telling us all about that. So
yeah.
I'm going to start this and then I'll let you take over, Rick. So my sort of question is, so you grew up the son of a dairy farmer, right? And it sounds from what I've read here like your mom was sort of the horsey person, and then you got into the pony club. What was that like, and sort of what made you get into the horse world?
What made me get into the horse world? I'm very competitive, and I just absolutely love the buzz, sort of the buzz of going cross country, the buzz of competing. If I won the lottery and I could have a string of 30 horses or whatever, I mean, I think I would just go to show after show, week in, week out. Yeah, I love going to shows. I love competing. Um, I love riding horses. Sort of everyone always laughs at me, but sort of people ring me up, and I do quite a lot of hunting as well. And somebody says, "Oh, can you take my horse hunting?" Like, sort of straight away, yeah, I'd love to. And yeah, and I think it just stems from that really. So the love of just riding horses and the love of competing. Um, it just sort of grew really, and yeah, as you say, I've got or still have a very influential mum who still stalks me all around the world. and
awesome.
she's a instructor for the and has sort of taught to a pretty high level and things. So she's still a great sort of pair of eyes on the ground here at home. And as you say, we're very lucky. We've got a lovely farm that I'm able to go ride round, and so we do so much of the work sort of out in the fields at home. And I've got hunt jumps all the way around through all the fields, so the horses can go and play, especially the young ones, sort of backwards and forwards. And so it's a very cool life, and it creates a pretty amazing lifestyle.
That's a dream, David. That's a dream. That's awesome. It definitely going to come visit you when we come over as well. So that sounds exciting. Ice cream and hunting. I mean, what could be better, right? My
You
question,
guys will be more than welcome.
that would be awesome. Um,
This is what we do, David. We actually get you guys on so we can invite ourselves over.
I know we have a place to
Yeah.
go. Let's transition a little bit. I don't think we ever even mentioned this, but you were second after cross country on Galileo, and then the rail. You mentioned the gutting rail that you had. You would have, I think, stayed in second, but you finished third, which is amazing. So tell us about the show jump. And going into show jump, we know your dressage. You scored a 34. You handled it. You were right there in a score that was at obviously hitting distance. Tell us about show jump.
Yeah, he came out really pinging, and he had the middle parts of the combination of the treble, and I think I just didn't quite have sort of enough punch going into it. And I think sort of he was just a little bit slow off the floor, and I mean, and it was the slightest of rubs. And he does normally in the ring, he might have he might just have a rub every so often, and this was his rub. And the pole fell a lot of the time. Sort of it stays up, but this time, as I say, it fell. Fortunately, not the most expensive pole I've ever had down, but it was expensive enough.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful round. I mean, again, we were there watching you go, and I was pulling for you. I know Tim Price, your scores with Tim was within 1.10 points between those placings until the rail happened. But then this is interesting that I watched when the whole champagne thing started to happen. And I don't know if you realize that if you look back at the live stream, but somebody's horse got loose when the champagne was going. Do you know?
Yeah, that was
did
mine.
you see that? Did you see that happen?
Somebody sent me the video of him disappearing off into the into the back of the arena. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
I was like,
poor girl. I think we popped the champagne, and I think she was trying to run away at the time and to get out the way, and she was just a little bit slow. And no, I had no idea that had happened. And sort of, but by the time we'd actually sort of settled down from celebrating, and she was just back there with him, and as if nothing had happened. And I had no idea. And it was probably I think she might have admitted to it about a few days later when he got home, when I asked her about it. But no, I had no idea it happened.
well, I can attest to people watching or listening. It was a quick catch. She was really quick to try to go around and get him. And it was a retrieval that was great. And obviously you didn't even see it happen. So she did a good job. So tell us about your groom. I mean, we got to give some shout outs to the grooms here. They really are the backbone of all of our horses when we come to these competitions and at home. Tell us about yours.
Yeah, so Jade she worked for me probably for 3 or 4 years before COVID happened. And then I think she came with me to do my first 5 stars and things, and my first time I went around Burley and all those sorts of bits and pieces. And then she went off to work for Tim and Janelle for a few years. And then we were looking for I think she then went freelance for a little bit, and she was she's staying in our sort of area. Tim and Janelle moved down to Dorset, and Jade stayed in the Marlborough area. And last year we were really short of staff, and so she came and did a whole load of work for us, and she's just never left again, really. and it's been lovely. We just sort of picked up, sort of where she left really, and yeah, she knows me, she knows our routines, and has fitted back in really well, and she does a fantastic job, and works really hard, and has taken on quite a few more responsibilities as well, sort of having come back to us. And she's off actually delivering some horses at the moment, so I can chat to you guys. But so yeah, no, so Jade Roberts, and she turns the horses out beautifully. And yeah, sort of, and it's great to be able to have somebody that I can trust to go and to go and fly my very nice, very lovely horse off to America, and I can turn up a few days later, and he's there looking fab, and she's great. She still sends me updates of what he's been doing, and how he's feeling, how he's looking, whatever else. So yeah, so Jade's probably been with us now on and off for probably 5-6 years.
Wow.
So, David, one thing is, before I get my question, maybe, and Jade might agree, just thinking about next year and as good as this horse is going, you might want to do some champagne training while you're at home this off season.
Yeah.
I figure out how you can pop the cork without stressing him out too much, but just get him comfortable with that, because I feel like there's going to be more of that in your future. And then I just actually was sort of curious. So when we were originally getting this set up and getting you on, and we appreciate you being flexible and getting in here for us so much, you had said that you were actually, after Maryland, you were going to get to, I believe you said you were going to get to hang out in the States a little bit. So where'd you go? Did you get to do anything fun while you were over here?
Yeah, absolutely. We did. So Charlotte, my wife, and I went to Washington for a few days.
All right.
And yeah, I had a really great time. It's quite nice. So really, sort of living in the countryside. We do quite a few sort of city breaks and things, and we found sort of quite a slightly sort of different hotel, and so it was quite nice to stay somewhere, yeah, a little bit different. And then we we went and did a few sort of touristy things. We went and got on one of the open top red buses that sort of went and drove us around and sort of points out where all the main things are, um and I was really keen to go to Arlington, um to go, to see all the memorials on there and things. And that was sort of breathtaking. Sort of, it's unreal. Sort of, yeah, Arlington. It was amazing to go and visit that. And I think also, so just Washington itself, just almost like the monumental size of some of the buildings, and yeah, it was very, very different. It was cool,
That's
really cool.
Yeah, that's
I
very
love
cool. I do the same when I come over to England. I go cruise around and check out all the buildings there. So that's kind of neat to hear that you did that over here and see Washington. I've been there a couple times, and you could spend days and days and days looking at everything for certain.
Well, I can tell you, David, Briggs and I were just there a couple months ago, and we love DC because you got the Smithsonian museums, but I don't know if you did this one. It's a spy museum where you go in and you participate as a spy in 007, and it was very cool, of real spies throughout the world. And that spy museum, if you didn't get there, you need to go there next time you come into DC because it's a lot of fun.
I did spot the Spy Museum. I was told I had to do something a little bit more sort of cultural, so we went to sort of the Natural History Museum, and did a few more like that, and so sort of there's a little bit of give and take, and Charlotte, she's fantastic and she's really supportive. So yeah, there were a few things that she wanted to go and visit. So yeah, we went and did those.
Well, that's
Fair
good.
enough. If she tolerated you at a 5-star and in the lead up to a 5-star, I'm sure that you owed her something. So well done.
Yeah, yeah. She's
So-
she tolerates a lot.
Which, yeah, that's good. That's why you're still married, right? What's your plans now for 2025?
Yeah, so we work backwards from the main aim, and obviously there's European Championships at Blenheim, so that will be the main aim. And I would love. We went to Aachen this year for the first time with Kenzo Power, so I'd love to take Galileo to Aachen because I feel like that would be another. Sort of Aachen's quite often, comes down to how fast you can go cross country, and I sort of feel that might suit him quite well. So sort of, yeah, Blenheim, working backwards to Aachen, and then of course there's the World Championships are going to be in Aachen in 2 years' time as well. So hopefully, that might be a little bit of a practice for us, if we got selected. And then, yeah, sort of a spring 5-star, probably be badminton. I've got the bug for coming over to America. So, you guys are fantastic. Whenever we come over, we've had the most amazing time. So I would love to come back over for Kentucky, but badminton is also 10 minutes down the road for us. So, there might be a little bit of keeping it local and going to badminton, I expect.
Sounds like a good plan, and we are wishing you the best of luck for 2025. Definitely, David.
Yeah, thank you. No, it should be a very exciting year.
Yeah, it will be exciting. We're excited to watch. And like I said, get on that champagne training, man. I'm telling you, you're going to need it for sure next year. So listen, David, we appreciate you taking the time, and we appreciate your groom for allowing you to do this by running your horses across town for you. So thank you to her.
And don't forget Charlotte.
Yeah, and of course, Charlotte. Absolutely. Charlotte, thank you for allowing this to happen.
She's actually working from home around the corner, so she's probably been eavesdropping on all of this. So
right.
Hey, Charlotte.
Yeah. I don't know her, but she's obviously an incredibly tolerant woman to be dealing with a 5-star event rider.
There she
Oh,
is.
there she
there,
is.
buddy.
You just see the desk. Yep,
Yeah.
working.
She's around there somewhere. She says she agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
She says
Well done.
she's very, very tolerant. So
I'm sure. All right, listen, man, thank you so much for coming on. We truly appreciate it. Best of luck going forward. If you ever end up in Florida, come on into the studio. We'd love to have you here in person, and hopefully we'll see you next year at some big events, and we'll be cheering you on.
no, it's been fantastic talking to you guys. So thank you ever so much for having me.
All right.
Thank
All right.
you.
So thank you everybody for watching today's show. We will be back actually on American Thanksgiving, which is like November 28th, I believe, is the Thursday. We'll have a great show for you. So we're looking forward to that. And until then, make sure you guys have a great autumn season, and we will be back in 2 weeks. We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.